Wizard101 just put out some of the craziest update notes ever. And it doesn't seem like they announced this anywhere, so I don't know if this was by accident or something, but on the patch notes, if you can look up, Wizard101 update notes, you'll notice that they've added what's going to be patched into the game tomorrow. And y'all, this is some super anticipated stuff, and they also added some details on stuff that we've only somewhat heard about. Now, I think the super big highlight of these update notes is the burst heal ban. If y'all don't know, what's coming, I guess, presumably tomorrow to the game, which will change the game immeasurably, is that shadow enhanced hits that do damage for one shadow pip and a set of pips. They're all gonna have an extra shadow pip added onto them. Will this be a good change for PvP? Who knows? It's basically to address the fact that almost every strategy in PvP at max just boils down to getting a favorable shadow hit. So for example, on a life, you would maybe devotion, you would overtime, you're ready to shad. On a debt, you cast a virulence, you cast an overtime, and guess what? You're ready to shad. Even a school like Balance, without an overtime, all you really have to do is make sure you aura pop your opponent's aura so they don't aura into a shad, and then you mana burn them until, guess what? You can shad. That's been PvP for about a month and a half, mainly because of the introduction of the Burrower gear. This gear has basically made it so that you can just get extremely good stats with shadow rating, which means almost everybody competitively is running it, which means every strategy is just shadow focused. I'm of the opinion that this problem has been occurring for way longer than just Burrower gear. I just think that this update, simply because of a combination of a lot of factors, it just seems to be really overbearing now. So it looks like they're going to address it by making shadow enhanced hits harder to cast because you have to wait for 2 shadow pips to cast it. But what's accompanied by it is the burst heal ban. Now, it only makes sense that if shadow enhanced hits are harder to get, that they would have to also make sure that, things that really mitigate damage severely, like heals, they also would have to be affected by this, right? If someone's waiting double the time to do a shadow enhanced hit, but you don't have to wait double the time to do a satyr, it's unbalanced. But the scope of this burst heal ban, we only know about this now. This wasn't really announced until these update notes. Almost every major heal is getting banned in PvP. So the spells that they mentioned were satyr and dryad, which I think actually make quite a lot of sense. But also rebirth, which you would need 8 pips to do an 870 damage heal, which is kind of a crazy thing to get rid of. And also both paths of Pigsy, regardless of whether you get an overtime heal or not, and even unicorn. Now, I find this a little weird because AoE heals aren't really that good, and yet they were included in this burst heal ban. I think what the devs are scared of is if someone, literally sends a Rusalka at you, or you're gonna, I don't know, put up a sanctuary and start unicorn spamming, maybe that would have happened, and that would have literally made your double Shadow Pip Rusalka useless. But it still seems like a very, I don't know, it feels like a painting with a broad brush when it comes to banning all of these, because now, if you want to AoE heal in raids, you will be unable to do that. That's kind of a big deal, right? If you're a life in a raid, and you used unicorn, or, I don't know, any of these spells, right? Maybe satyr. If you use those as support, maybe it wasn't that big of a deal, but it does seem like, you can't do that anymore. And it also brings into the question of how is life supposed to compete with Storm's healing? While I fully agree that healing is gonna be OP if you do nothing to it with shadow enhanced hits requiring 2 shadow pips, I still really think that the problem is with outgoing. I think outgoing, or maybe just the healing per pip that you're afforded on the spell, it's too much. Meaning, I believe either the ability to increase how much a satyr does with your stats is too much, or the actual satyr base does too much. And I really hope that they standardize that so that, these can be allowed in PvP again, because I don't think banning a spell is ever a popular thing, especially when it's something as integral to playing life as healing. I think this update could have very well done with a temporary ban on just satyr and dryad, so that, in 1v1 max level, you can do a shadow enhanced hit and not get it erased. But I think adding all these other things, what it really makes it seem like, life can't really heal with its current stats without it literally just being broken, which I think is kind of dumb. I think a lot of life wizards, a lot of life mains will agree with this, right? You'll find the change probably necessary in PvP, but you'll also find the approach unfortunate, right? Yes, healing is broken, but is this really the way to fix it? Banning literally a bunch of small little AoE heals as well and affecting other parts of the game? It seems a little crazy. I definitely would have let Pigsy and Unicorn stay, in my opinion. That's just my take on this. I don't think they're broken. I guess Pigsy, maybe it can be broken, if you I don't know, if you max tier it, I guess it's almost like a burst heal, you know, even with an overtime component. But Unicorn definitely wasn't really that crazy. I like stuff like this seems a little bit of an overshot, but maybe that's for the best so that, you know, we actually really get to see what a healthy PvP meta even somewhat resembles. Now, what is notable is that this will be an update that also makes Burrower gear less pay to win. Right now, the only source of this extremely game-changing gear is you literally have to open up packs and you'll get this Burrower gear and it's broken. But according to the update notes, they're going to be adding it to the PvP crafter, which I think is a really, really nice change for King Sal to do. I think they're also going to be taking out some other stuff so it looks a little less cluttered, but obviously this is the most relevant gear at max PvP. I'm sure obviously some people are going to be like, yo, I don't want to do PvP to get Burrower gear. But honestly, even one source that's not pay to win means the actual gear is less pay to win. So I feel like this is hopefully one of many steps that they do to actually make this gear accessible. I don't think they should ever do this again. I don't think they should ever make gear like this in a pack where it completely takes over the meta and you need like at least 2 pieces of it on every school. This should not happen again. I hope they've learned the lessons, and in the meantime, at least we can get it from the crafter, so that's good. And finally, though this doesn't really affect max PvP, I still found it very interesting. It looks like they're adding a new gear set to level 50 and they're putting it behind a challenge mode, meaning you actually have to do a boss in the past, I guess, maybe like a level 50 boss, except you have to do a more challenging version of it. The fact that they're adding a whole new gear set and adding a new boss to farm, essentially like a new version of a boss anyways, means that this is like a really seriously bigger part of the game now. I really want to see how they add a challenge mode at max level. Maybe they can add a gear set to max level that you just have to defeat a boss for, and you don't have to do a whole raid for, and more people can try to do advanced content that way. But yes, this is advanced content, meaning it'll have gear caps, it'll have special rules, it'll have stuff that is banned in PvP, you can't use it in the sigil. It's interesting that they're experimenting with level 50 with this, but I would love to see how that goes, because maybe this is something they could do regularly at max PvP, especially for PvEers that want a challenge but don't want to do something as big as a raid. Y'all, I'm gonna be honest, I do think it's not a perfect upcoming update, but I definitely think it's sorely needed in multiple parts of the game. We'll see what these various raid fixes that they hinted at are as well, but as all in all, that's all of the updates that we can expect. I'm pretty excited. Maybe the meta will be very different, raids, advanced content, maybe all of that will be just different enough where it'll be a little bit more enjoyable than it has been up to this point. But obviously these are far-reaching changes, so I want to hear y'all's opinions in the comments. What do you guys think of all these changes? What do you guys think of what the raid changes might be? I didn't even mention those in this video. But also tell me about what you guys think about the shadow enhanced spells changing, the burst heals changing, unicorn, pigsy. I look forward to reading all of y'all's comments. As always, drop a like if you enjoyed, leave us a review, and if somebody hasn't told you you're awesome today, they doing something wrong. Stay awesome, y'all. See y'all soon, and yeah.